So how much time do you spend at the other jobs if you spend every day at the State Department?
Well, now you know why I can't offer you 8 hours today to answer every question on this committee, which you were complaining about earlier. Look, here's the thing. All those jobs are being done. USAID largely has been folded into... Do you want my answer? Do you want to...
No, I just want to know this. Did you anticipate or did you want, when you were sworn in to be the Secretary of State, do you want to have the jobs of USAID administration?
What began as a routine oversight hearing quickly sharpened into a pointed exchange over executive authority, administrative restructuring, and congressional consultation. At issue is whether consolidating multiple roles under one official increases efficiency or stretches accountability too thin. Congressional hearings often serve dual purposes: oversight and political messaging. As we listen, pay attention to the tension between structural reform and the constitutional requirement that Congress authorize major reorganizations. That balance of power sits at the heart of this debate.
Something out. I know you said you read a lot of cables every day, and I know that when you first got sworn in at your confirmation hearing, you stated that being the Secretary of State would be an extraordinary responsibility. Here we are 4 minutes later, but reading cables every day. How much time do you spend at the State Department?
How much what?
How much time? How focused at the State Department?
Almost every day if I'm in the country. I travel a lot. It's part of the job.
I agree. I understand. But now you have 4 jobs, don't you? Now you're not only the Secretary of State, you are also the acting USAID administrator. You're also the acting archivist. You're also the interim national security advisor. You cannot spend every day at the State Department and then neglect your other jobs that you have the responsibility to do. So how much time do you spend at the other jobs if you spend every day at the State Department?
Well, now you know why I can't offer you 8 hours today to answer every question on this committee, which you were complaining about earlier. Look, here's the thing. All those jobs are being done. USAID largely has been folded into... Do you want my answer? Do you want to...
No, I just want to know this. Did you anticipate or did you want, when you were sworn in to be the Secretary of State, do you want to have the jobs of USAID administrator?
No, I did not apply for those jobs. I was asked to serve in those roles, and I'm happy to do it. The archives are doing great. The USAID has been folded under state, so it's a sort of a duplicative role. And the National Security Advisor, which is on an interim basis, has tremendous overlap with what we're doing at the State Department.
Well, then why not get rid of all of them and just put everything under you? Get rid of all those departments. If it's not crucial to have someone every day at as a National Security Advisor, you folded in USAID, you saying the archives is fine, get rid of them. Wouldn't that be then waste? Based upon how you have determined there's waste, based upon your testimony earlier, and some of these other departments, they were duplicative. So if it's duplicative, then get rid of them.
Well, you would have to pass a law to do that if you want to combine those 4 offices in your reorg.
Well, look, that hasn't stopped you in the past because the law requires you to consult with Congress on any proposed reorganization of USAID or the State Department. That hasn't happened. I agree. It should be the Congress's responsibility. Your staff claimed, quote, that you've extensively consulted Congress on your plan to fold USAID into state. But that did not happen. All we members have gotten was 1 hour of a meeting with Pete Morocco, who you later fired and who couldn't answer our most basic questions about the aid freeze. And you've ignored thus far. That's why I want to know about you've ignored nearly 20 letters from this committee seeking information about who, since you took office, as well as, we spoke one time, but not consulting this committee at all. I don't call that extensive consultation. So you're right. Things that you've done should be in collaboration with the United States Congress. But surely the USAID and all of these other things was not.
This is where the exchange shifts from workload questions to a constitutional issue.
Senator Rubio,
consultation. By
would have
law,
demanded it.
significant reorganizations of federal
we've
agencies
complied with
typically
every part of
require
the law.
either
Every single
statutory
part of the law has
authority
been
or
complied
formal
with.
notification and engagement
You, for example,
with
have written us
Congress.
16 letters.
The disagreement here
You've been
centers
briefed
not
on 7
only
of them.
on
Some of them we
policy
couldn't answer, and we
but
told
on
you why we
process.
couldn't answer because they were
How
subject
much
to litigation.
consultation is
4, you've
legally
gotten answers
sufficient?
in writing,
And when
and
does
5 we've gotten
executive
just in the
scrutiny
last
risk
few days.
bypassing
Well, you know,
legislative
16 letters. I've
oversight?
been there 17
I
weeks.
have
Still
not.
write me a letter
I'm
a
gonna
week.
Tensions
give my
between the
last-
executive
Where for
branch
the
and
first
Congress
time
over
since the end of the
foreign aid
Cold War,
structure
the
are
United
not
States
new.
had a near-peer
Both parties
competitor
at
and
different
adversary
times
in the
have
state of
debated
China.
whether agencies
And
like
we need to
USAID
confront that. And our
should
foreign
operate
policy needs to be
independently
geared
or under
around that
closer
and on
State
realities
Department
of this
control.
new world.
The question for
And so what
viewers
that
is
means
this:
is we have to have a
does
State Department that
consolidation
can
improve
deliver on a
accountability
foreign
or
policy
reduce
that is
transparency?
rooted in the national interest of the United States. To defend the national interest of the United States requires us, number one, to make sure that every dollar we spend and every action we take has to have measurable outcomes that deliver for the American people. They have to either make our country safer, or they have to make our country stronger, or they have to help make our country more prosperous. It has to do at least one of those 3 things. And ideally, whether it's a program or a measure that we take, it should do all 3 of them. Now, what that means is that there are some great causes in the world. There really are. There are some great causes. There are some horrifying things that are happening on the planet. America cannot solve every single one of them. What we need to focus on is prioritizing our foreign policy to those areas that are in our national interest. Now, we will still remain the largest contributor of foreign aid and humanitarian assistance on this planet by far. The United States, even under the budget that's before you today, and the changes we have made, will still contribute more in foreign aid than the next 10 countries combined, than the entire OECD. The next closest country is not China, it's Germany, and it's way behind us, even now. But that foreign aid has to be geared towards our national interests. We need to design a State Department that delivers on that. Yes, we canceled a bunch of contracts in USAID. Some were stupid and outrageous. Others didn't serve the national interest, and others we kept. And we are folding it under the Department of State. And you know why? Because we want it to be part of the toolbox of foreign policy, not a standalone. It is not charity. Foreign aid is not charity. It is designed to further the national interest of the United States. So we will do humanitarian assistance. We will do food assistance. We will do developmental assistance. And we will do security assistance. But we will do it driven by our embassies and our regional bureaus. Because what those issues mean look very different in Guatemala than they may in Chad or in Kenya or in some other part of the world in the Indo-Pacific. And so one of the things that we have tried to do in our reorganization is drive power and influence on policymaking and decision-making to the regional bureaus and ultimately to our embassies. Our embassies, our ambassadors, are the front line of American foreign policy. The most important thing I do every single day is not read memos, it's read cables. Every night I get 10, 15 select cables from stations around the world, different embassies. The best ideas in that building come from the ground up from our embassies. Now, I want to tell you something else. Look, I did serve in the Senate for a long time, so this is a new job to me. When I got there, I'd get a memo. I still get these memos. I should have brought one today. In order for an idea to reach me, a decision to reach the Secretary of State, some of these things have to be checked off by 40 people, 40 boxes. And if any one of these people has a question, they can hold it up before the idea even ever gets to me. Now, that sounds like a crazy thing to begin with. We can't afford it in the 21st century. We have to be able to move very quickly. And a case in point is what happened last week. Syria, under a new authority, granted people with some checkered background, is on the verge of collapse potentially. And if it collapses, it will devolve into civil war. And civil war will mean that it will become a playground for ISIS and other jihadists, not to mention Iranian influence coming back in. So there's no guarantee that by outreach and working with the transitional authority in Syria, things are going to work out. It may work out, it may not work out. But if we don't reach out and try, it's guaranteed to not work out. And so we had to move very quickly to action that. If we had not done sanctions relief last week, and now the EU has followed suit, then our partners in the region could not have provided donor dollars so that that transitional authority could try to stabilize its governance of the country. That place could have collapsed within weeks and become an ISIS playground once again. There is no way that a traditional system could have delivered on that. It would have gone to the interagency. It would have gone to 6 to 9 months of debate. Any individual could have held it up with an information hold, and we never would have acted. We can't afford it. The world moves too quickly. And so we need to drive policy from the ground up, from our embassies and our regional bureaus, and that's what we're doing.
Sharp exchanges.
And that's what we're doing.
About competing
on the last point I would make about foreign aid,
foreign
aid has to be part of our portfolio, part of what we do, and it has to be consistent with our agenda in any region of the world or any country. And oftentimes you will find, and maybe some of you have found when you travel, you go talk to an ambassador and they will tell you what USAID was pushing and what they are pushing in the country are not just different, they're in contradiction. And in many cases, USAID programs were undermining the mission of the embassy.
And global strategy.
That's a fact, and I heard that over and over again. I've heard it in the Caribbean basin, and I've heard it in other parts of the world. I am not the first Secretary of State that wanted USAID and foreign aid to be under the Department of State.
What stood out to you most?
I'm just the first that's been able to do it. And I'm glad we've done it, and it will deliver better foreign policy and, frankly, more accountability and more oversight opportunities for your committee down the road. Thank you.
And if you value balanced, fact-focused breakdowns of congressional hearings and political oversight, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more in-depth analysis.
Rubio answered smoothly, explaining he's there almost every day unless
What we need to focus on is prioritizing our foreign policy to those areas that are in our national interest. Now, we will still remain the largest contributor of foreign aid and humanitarian assistance on this planet by far. The United States, even under the budget that's before you today, and the changes we have made, will still contribute more in foreign aid than the next 10 countries combined. Than the entire OECD, the next closest country is not China, it's Germany, and it's way behind us, even now. But that foreign aid has to be geared towards our national interest. We need to design a State Department that delivers on that. Yes, we canceled a bunch of contracts in USAID. Some were stupid and outrageous. Others didn't serve the national interest.